Good afternoon and welcome to Mets Connect Me. Normally we would have been halfway the first day of the exhibition, but unfortunately Mets Trade has been cancelled. Therefore we decided to do the Mets online.
We started last Thursday and will continue till tomorrow afternoon. Each day we broadcast 2 live sessions, one at 11 in the morning and one at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. My name is Dianne van Mun.
And my name is Marianne Groes, and we are your hosts for Mets Connect Me.
Attwood and Whale Water Systems is the title of our 8th online session. We're connecting live with Northern Ireland and welcome Simon McFarland. Hello Simon and welcome in our show. You have the honor to introduce 2 new members in our family of brands, Attwood and Whale. I can imagine that our audience is very curious about your presentation. What can they expect?
Hello, thank you very much, and thank you everybody for tuning in. I'm very excited to present Attwood and Whale Water Systems, and I hope that you're going to learn a lot about our products and how they work together, and where you should be using them, and in what type of instance you would select the right type of products. So thank you very much.
I'm sure it is very interesting for our viewers. Thank you, Simon. We will see you in a bit for your presentation. An online event is more interesting if it is interacting, and we would like to interact with you. If you look on your screen, on your right, you can see the Q&A. There you can fill in as many questions as you like, and after the sessions, our experts are ready to answer them.
But first, we go to... For us, Whale is a new member in our family. But do you know that they already exist over 200 years? And the question is, what is the original company name of Whale?
Get that brain trained. And I'm sure you will come up with something. At the end of the show, we will tell you who the winner is. But now it's time to dive into the world of Attwood and Whale. Here is your presenter, Simon McFarland.
Hello, welcome to the training session today for ASG, specifically on water systems. I'm Simon McFarland and I'm the product manager for both Attwood and Whale Water Systems. And we're just going to go through a quick overview. As you can see, water systems are found all over a boat. They're found at the stern, they're found at the back, they're found in the head and in the galley, and obviously in the bilge. So I just want to take you through how Whale and Attwood work together. A lot of people are a little bit confused. They think that we're competitive products or competitive brands, but actually they're very complementary. So in the table that you can see at the moment, across the top, we have the boat types, and down the side, we have the different subcategories of products. And what I want to do is explain just how Whale has a sweet spot and Attwood has a sweet spot. So first of all, Whale's sweet spot are the catamarans, the sailboats, the motor cruisers, anything from 25 feet up to 50, 60 feet. We provide all of the systems that are grey waste, washdown, freshwater plumbing, and bilge pumps, all of that. Whereas Attwood's sweet spot is more in the day boat sector. So boats that are maybe under 30 feet that need bilge pumps, blowers, and a lot of those fittings as well. So that really shows you why Whale and Attwood are complementary, not in competition. We also then have a lot of very good partners. We have all of our European OEMs and builders, but we also supply a lot of American boats. So that means if you've got import boats coming in, it's very beneficial to have both Wheel and Attwood products. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the training. Today, I'm going to talk about the WX plumbing range. It's the only plumbing range that has been designed specifically for use in water systems on boats. We're going to start with the plumbing. We have red, blue, turquoise, and we have a white as well. Red is for the hot water, blue for the cold water. Turquoise, we typically suggest that you use that for raw water, and there's also the white pipe. Now, if you take a look at our pipework, you will notice that there are little marks every 1 inch or 25 millimeters along the whole length of the pipework. These little marks are there to help you whenever you're doing installation. So whenever you cut the pipe, we recommend you cut the pipe on one of the marks. That means that when you insert it into one of our plumbing fittings, it will go all the way in until the next mark is right at the grey collar. That way you know you've put it all the way in, so if you're going back to check it later on, you can say, yes, my little mark is right in against the collar. That means I've cut it and pushed it in properly. Whenever you're pushing the pipe into our fittings, you will feel one, then two little moments of restriction. That's as the pipe goes past the O-ring and the collet cover. On the fittings themselves, there's a little witness mark, and this witness mark is the same distance away from the collar as the gap between the two marks. So that means you can see how far it has to go in. It also means if you can't cut it on the mark, it means that you know that you can measure it, cut it where it needs to be cut, and then push it in and you know it's fully in. Our red pipe can cope with 6 bar at 60 degrees Celsius. The blue can cope with 12 bar at 20 degrees Celsius. The pipe itself does not need a support for when you bend it. A lot of other pipe manufacturers recommend and insist, in fact, that you use a special plastic piece that has a curve in it that you can clip the pipe into. The Wheel plumbing does not need that. You can bend this pipe to 75 millimeters of diameter, and it doesn't kink and it doesn't break. So when we take our plumbing and we put it into our fittings, we've talked already about how far you have to push it in. The nice thing about our fittings is that you can stack them. So the likes of this one, which is the manifold T, you can stack them up for the head or for the galley. You can twist them, they can come out in different directions. That means that you don't have to have a fitting, a piece of pipe, a fitting and a piece of pipe. To easily remove these fittings, you just squeeze the grey collar and pull them apart. There's no special tools required for joining them together. There are no pipe inserts, which most other pipe manufacturers recommend you use. We don't want you to use them at all. There are no need for pipe inserts. And that's all down to our intelligent collet design. And I'm going to talk a little bit about our collet design now. Our collet, or the grey part, is on the inside. It's protected by the white collet cover. The collet cover has got these 2 lumps on either side, and that prevents accidental release of that collar if it hits up against the bulkhead. So when you remove that, you can see the collet is inside our plastic fitting, and there are 4 little holes all the way around, and each one of those holes is for the back end of each of the legs. On each of the legs we have a little plastic tooth. We don't use metal teeth in our fittings for a number of reasons. One of the main reasons is that as the temperature increases and the pressure increases, these little teeth get hot, and they can push into the pipe and actually slide through the pipe because it's hot, it's melting the plastic. So on our fittings, they are plastic teeth. That means that you cannot use this collet with copper pipes or any other type of pipework. You must use the Wheel pipework. So whenever you put the pipe into the collet, the little legs push out. There are 4 teeth, 1 in each leg, and they grip the pipe. Now, as the pressure increases, the little legs get pushed back in, and that means that at the bottom of each one of these, the second tooth then appears under high pressure. So as the pressure increases, the grip on the pipe actually increases. One of the reasons that we don't need these pipe inserts is that at the bottom of the collet we have a ring, and that ring supports the pipe. So whenever you bend the pipe coming straight out of the fitting, it won't leak. All other manufacturers say you must come out straight first of all and then bend, but with the Whale plumbing and fittings it doesn't have to come out straight away. All of our freshwater pumps also come with the same fittings already molded into them, so you can take your quick connect fitting, push it straight into the pump, and if you need to change it or you want to put a piece of pipe on, just hold the collar down and pull the fitting out again. So that means that you don't need any additional fittings when you buy one of our pumps, and it's very fast and very easy to install the system. So the Whale WX plumbing system is the fastest plumbing system to install. It's also the easiest to install with the least amount of specialist tools and no pipe inserts or collet clips. Thank you very much for listening. In this video we're going to cover the electric freshwater pumps manufactured and designed by Whale. So we'll start off first of all with our tiny little submersible pumps. These are just a little impeller style motor. You drop that into a jerry can or into a small water container and it will supply water to a single outlet. Some of the versions come with a filter on the bottom, some don't, and this is the premium, and the premium has that nice little filter on the bottom just to stop any debris that's in the bottom of your freshwater jerry can. This typically connects to flexible hosing and just goes up to your tap, so not too far away. You also need to buy a faucet that either has a built-in micro switch to turn on and off this pump, or you need to buy a standalone pressure switch, which is also manufactured and supplied by Whale pumps. Moving up through the range, we come next to our Watermaster. Our Watermaster, as you can see, is all blue, which is a move away from our black pumps that we've had in the past. The reason for that is that this pump is fully encased in plastic. So we have a plastic motor housing and we have a plastic head on the pump. That means that this pump is fully waterproof. It's IP67. It can even run underwater should your boat get flooded, which freshwater supply is the least of your worries in that point. But this pump has a diaphragm in the head of the pump and 4 valves. That gives you a nice smooth supply of water and a nice smooth pressure. Inside also the head we have the pressure switch, and the pressure switch, as with the rest of the pump, is fully encased. You have 2 capacities, an 8 litre and a 12 litre. You also have 2 pressures available. You have a 2 bar and a 4 bar, or a 30 psi and 45 psi version available. The pump itself has the Whale quick connect fittings on it, so you can take your pipe, push your pipe straight into the fitting, and that is the pump plumbed up. The pump also comes, as you can see, with a filter. All of our freshwater pressure pumps come with a filter. The filter can be cleaned by removing the head, cleaning out the filter, running it under a tap and putting it back onto the filter housing. We move up a size next to the universals. The universals are available in what we call pump packs or pump kits. You can buy it with a single pump and accumulator tank, or as in this version you can get the double stack with the accumulator tank. The universal motors themselves are higher torque, so whenever you're using a universal, we highly recommend that you also use an accumulator tank. The slightly smaller Watermaster pumps don't need an accumulator tank all the time. They very seldom need it unless you're working in a very restrictive system. So talking a little bit about this double stack, we have 2 pumps, and you can get this in 4 different versions. So 12 and 24 volt in 24 litres and 12 and 24 volt in 36 litres. The pumps themselves come with the filters, as I've already talked about, and they come pre-plumbed to go straight into flexible pipework systems. The accumulator tank at the bottom ensures that you've got a nice smooth flow so that you don't have a lot of cycling of the pumps, and it means that you have a much more enjoyable experience, much more like at home, where you've got that smooth flow and smooth pressure. We also went for external pressure switches with the double stack. This means that there's a much better life expectancy on the whole system, but it also means that you get less variation in the pressure settings on these, and it means that you get a really good shower while somebody else is using the bathroom, or you get a good flow of water at multiple outlets. 10 or above this system can cope with. Thank you very much for listening. In this little video, I'm going to talk about the manual freshwater pumps available from Whale. The one in my hand here is the V-Pump Mark 6. The pump itself is easily to install. You drill one hole in your counter and slide the pump down into your counter. This little block at the top has a screw which you can loosen, and then you can adjust the height of the faucet above your countertop. You also have the ability to spin it, so that means you can turn it out of the way should you have a cover that comes down over your sink. In order to prime and pump this little V-pump, you just lift the handle, pump up and down a couple of times. You'll start to feel some restriction in there, and then the water will start to flow. In order to plumb this into your system, you can use flexible pipework, or if you wish, you can use the Whale WX plumbing system. That way you don't have to use any pipe clamps, and there's less likelihood of any leaks. Just take the supply from your freshwater tank and you'll have fresh water at your sink. Now, I know that most people use this as a secondary pump, particularly in the sailing market, but we also see many people using these in camper vans and motorhomes and lots of different applications. So that's the V-pump. We have here the flipper. The flipper you will probably associate more with the old VW camper vans, but it's also on many sailboats. It's so simple to use. Your faucet just spins around 360 degrees. You can put that over your sink, move it out of the way, and then when you want to use it again, spin it back again. In order to prime and supply water to it, just move the little handle back and forward. And much like in the V-pump, you'll start to feel a bit of restriction or a little bit of resistance. And you keep on pumping and then the water will flow very nicely. Both of these pumps are self-priming so that they can lift the water from down in your fresh water tank. And as with the V-pump, you just need to drill one single hole in your countertop, and on this version, mount the nut below. So these are our freshwater pumps. Thank you very much for listening. I want to talk a little bit about the 12-volt water heater from Whale Pumps. The 12-volt water heater has a capacity of 12 litres. It runs on 12-volt DC, so the idea is that if you have a boat that does not have an inboard engine and therefore no cooling system, you can still get hot water when you're running the engine. This water heater will take the excess power delivered from your outboard engine and turn that into warm water. So with that 12 litres of water, you can shower down on your boat, you can warm up your wetsuit, you can have a little bit of warm water for washing your hands, or indeed you can use it for washing down your deck should it be very dirty. So we take the power directly from your system on board. We have then two additional wires. One wire is for a relay and the other wire is for a signal light. On the inside we have your element, your overheat thermostat, and also a resettable thermostat, and then we have our relay. That means that whenever the power is coming in, your relay is always has the power there, and it means that you can only switch this on when your engine is running, because obviously it's about 30 amps, 35 amps of power draw, so you don't want to run your battery down when you're just sitting there without your engine on. So as soon as you start your engine, you can flick the switch, turn on the water heater, and it'll sit and heat up your water. About 40 minutes of run time will get you nice warm water to shower in. We also have a drain valve, and part of the drain valve is an anode. That means that you can protect your tank and everything else from the current, but also then you have a drain valve to empty it in the winter. We have a pressure and temperature relief valve, and that will leak water out if the pressure goes too high or if the temperature goes too high. And the tank itself is a aluminium body on the inside, and then the cover is also a white powder coated aluminium. This is not for potable water, it's just for having a warm shower if you need to on your boat. And it's screwed down to your boat front and rear with two brackets. So that's the 12-volt water heater. Thank you very much for listening. In this video we're going to cover the grey waste systems offered by Whale Pumps. So on my right we have what we call the little sump box. The little sump box is for your small day boats where you might have a little bit of water coming from a sink and it can't go overboard by gravity. So this will be found down in the bilge area of your boat, and inside it we have a little submersible bilge pump, we have a filter, and we have a sensor. So this pump is really restricted to those day boats that don't really have hair or anything like that going into the sump. If we move up a size to the medium to larger size boats, we always recommend that people use the grey waste tank along with a gulper pump. Now, the grey waste tanks themselves come in 3 different sizes. We have 8 litres, 16 litres and 20 litres. They have 4 inlet ports on one side, 4 on the other, and we also have an outlet on both sides as well, just for maximum flexibility. The inlet pipe size ranges from 1.5 inch down to 3/4 inch, and the outlet port is 3/4 inch on one side and 1 inch on the other side. The tanks themselves also have some threaded fittings on the side. That means that you can mount the pump to the side in multiple different orientations. That's if you have good space. If you don't have space to put it on the side of your tank, you can mount this pump somewhere else. We all know that the Gulper 320 can be a remote mounted pump, so that means it can be mounted 1 metre away, 2 metres away, wherever you have space, or indeed if you want to reduce noise in living areas, you can move the pump somewhere else. The tanks have also been increased in height. That means that we have a little bit more of a reservoir of grey waste in the bottom, and that reduces the amount of air being sucked out of the tank through the pump and reduces the noise level. So at night time it's much quieter. It's quieter than the previous versions that we've had. The lids of these tanks are all 1 unit. So as you can see, it's all black plastic. Encased in the black plastic are sensors. So this is a single sensor version, but on a double sensor version you will have 1 here and 1 here. The sensors themselves are encased also in a potting compound, so that should water get in through the top, then the electronics are protected. The top itself is a snap fit and it has a seal around it, and also there's a rubber grommet for the wires coming out the top. So there are 4 levels of protection on the sensor itself. So many people will only need 1 sensor to operate 1 pump. If you have a larger boat and maybe more systems, more waste systems coming into this, you can have 2 sensors and 2 pumps, or some people prefer to have 1 pump and then maybe they have an alarm attached to the top sensor. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the changes that we made to the outside of the tank as well. We've added some information in terms of the port sizes, that you should actually drill these holes, not cut them with a saw. And the holes themselves, or the end of the ports, have also been recessed so that you can find the center nice and easily when you go to drill the holes out. And there's also some instructions across the front as well. So we've talked about how we use the grey waste tank for those stay on board boats, the ones that have heads, the ones that have showers, the ones that get use. You never need to take this tank, open it and clean out any filters or take the pump out because there's no pump in it. The pump is remote. And that brings us nicely on to the Gulper. The Gulper, we have 3 versions of the Gulper. We have the 220, which is the smallest, the 320, which is the one I'm holding, and then we have the Gulper IC, which we'll talk about later on. But all 3 Gulpers run off the same principle. They have a gear set in the housing here. They also have a reciprocating diaphragm in the head of the pump. That reciprocating diaphragm really is the key to success of the Gulper. It moves forward and pushes any waste out. It moves back and sucks any waste in. That diaphragm has no external edges or parts for hair or debris to catch on, so it never blocks and it never clogs. On the head we have 1 inlet valve and 2 outlet valves. Within the outlet valve we have the tricuspid valve, and if you've seen any of our other videos on the toilet pump or on the grouper, we've explained that there as well. The tricuspid has 3 sides. Unlike the traditional non-return valve, which is flat, more like a duckbill, this has 3 sides. And the reason for that is that it opens up much, much further than a flat non-return valve. That means that the efficiency of this pump is much better. It also means that if something is in there in the middle of the pumping cycle, when the reciprocating diaphragm pushes forward and the waste goes out, and then it sucks back in. When this closes, if there's still a bit of debris in there, it will suck it shut around that and still create a seal. So for your boats up to maybe 50, 60 feet, this grey waste system is the best solution. We do offer a bespoke version, which is a 100 litre tank, and it comes with 2 of our Gulper 320s already pre-mounted on there, and you will really need to just contact Wheel for more information on that. I want to move across then to our Gulper IC. Now, our Gulper IC is specifically designed for those boats that have very limited space. So if you want to have a good grey waste solution, you always go for a Gulper, but you can't always go for a grey waste tank because there isn't the space, or maybe there isn't the gravity to drain away into one of these tanks into your bilge. What Wheel came up with was a Gulper IC, so a smart pump. It has the pump. In the back of the pump there's a circuit board, and that circuit board controls the operation of this pump. So you can connect this pump to a number of accessories. One of the accessories that I have here is a gully. This gully has a sensor built into it. You can connect this gully straight to the pump. There are two sizes. This is the large one, there's also a smaller one. So when water enters the gully in your shower tray and it fills this up, the sensor realizes that there's water there and turns the pump on. Now the pump itself doesn't just start straight away at full capacity. It has a soft start. So the circuit board on the inside starts the motor that little bit more gently. It's so small that we don't notice it, we can't really hear it, but that means that it'll extend the life of that a little bit longer than a standard 320. And that sensor, once there's no water left, it'll turn the pump off. So that means you don't have to use a grey waste tank in your installation. It also means if you have a shower tray in your boat that's above the bilge or above the hull, that means that if you want to have more head height in there, you can actually drop the shower tray down because you don't need any gravity. You don't need to have that space below the bottom of your shower tray and the hull of the boat. You can just install this gully. If you maybe have enough space for gravity, but not enough space for one of these grey waste tanks, we have our little manifold. Our little manifold you might recognise from the three-way black waste valve that we have. But the difference is that this has a sensor on the inside as well, and it connects to a single Gulper IC pump. You can bring your shower waste into here, you can bring your sink waste into here, and then whenever this fills up with water on the inside with that grey waste, it activates the pump, pump turns on, takes that waste away. So these are all of the options that you have for grey waste on board, running from the low price point and low debris handling, all the way up through the severe debris handling to the niche installation to give you that little bit more headroom in your shower, or if you're limited in terms of location for a grey waste tank, the grey IC is ideal for that installation. Thank you very much. In this short video I'm going to cover electric toilet pumps and manual toilet pumps. Start first of all with the electric toilet pump. Anybody who has any experience of toilet pumps on board or black waste pumps will know the macerators very well. This is the replacement for any macerator that you have today. The macerator gets clogged up and you have to service it regularly. When it does get clogged up, it blows trips. It also has a very high current draw, which is about double that of a Gulper toilet pump. And it operates by having a little spinning blade on the inside that not only moves the water, but it also chops up anything that's in there. We haven't gone for that type of solution simply because it gets blocked all the time. You just imagine taking your blender at home and dropping something into it. It often burns out or it gets stuck. The Gulper toilet pump, that doesn't happen. It has a reciprocating diaphragm on the inside of the head. So that means that when the diaphragm moves forward, it pushes anything out, and when it moves back, it sucks anything in. So you can put anything into this pump, it will suck up anything. The restrictions that you see in a lot of toilets, this will not have those restrictions. Anything that can fit in through the inlet will pass through the outlet. The secret to success, that's not just the diaphragm, but also on the inlets and outlets, we have two sets of valves, one here and then one further inside the pump. And on the outlet, we also have one here and one here. And these are the tricuspid valves. The tricuspid valves open up fully to allow any debris through them. That means that they're very efficient. It also means that whenever something maybe hasn't got pushed all the way through and the pump stops or in the middle of a cycle, it will actually deform around that debris and still create a partial seal. The valve behind it will make up for that partial seal, and it will pump anything through it that you can get into it. The other great thing about this pump is that the head spins. So if you loosen these two screws, you can spin the head round to any angle that you wish. So that's our electric black waste pump. This pump almost everybody in the industry knows. It is the Mark V universal toilet pump. It's a particularly good pump for a number of reasons. It utilizes the same tricuspid valves, but it also has an encased diaphragm. So at the rear, there is no diaphragm, and at the front there is no diaphragm. So that means if the diaphragm fails for any reason, because of long life most likely, you won't have a leak on board, and that's the last thing we want, is a leak on board, especially from black waste. It also has a cover which you can take off and you can access in case there's anything that you on the inside that you need to clear. That lid then can go straight back on again. Now, this pump is well known throughout the industry. It's been used on sailboats and motorboats for many years. It comes with a removable stainless steel handle, and this version is the bulkhead version. You can also get a through deck version, which means the handle will go through the rear of the pump, and to make sure that you have plenty of flexibility whenever you're installing these pumps. That's all from black waste. Thank you very much. And this is just a little video on the manual bilge pump range available from us. Before I start talking about all of these pumps, one of the things that we should always remember is that if you're installing a manual bilge pump, you should always have a little strum box attached to the inlet of these pumps that sits right in the bottom of your bilge. The strum box has a non-return valve in it, but it also has a filter on the bottom. The filter is about 10 millimeters, and that means that anything that's 10 millimeters can be sucked up and pumped through all of these pumps. But that's just a large debris, but it also means that your hose doesn't buckle under the suction. So that's the first thing. Always install one of those in the bottom of your boat. So we'll start with the high-end aluminium pumps. We've got the Gusher 30 and the Gusher 10, two very recognizable pumps. You can walk down to almost any marina or any sailboat or any fishing port, and you will see these boat pumps installed on the boats, out in the open, out in the elements. The Gusher 30 has two diaphragms. As you can see, it's got two halves. So when you pump, when you push forward, it pumps. When you pull back, it pumps. On the Gusher 10, when you push forward and back, that counts as one pump. So for each movement of this, you get two. For this, you get one. The Gusher 30, you can remove the front and rear covers to service or clean by hand, so you don't need any special tools. And it is also rated as a fire pump as well as an emergency lifeboat pump. The Gusher 10 is much more simple, and it can be installed on a bulkhead, it can be installed on the floor, and it can be installed through deck as well. So we'll move on then to our composite pumps. All of them are plastic, with the exception of the double acting Mark V. It has an aluminium center. Now, as you can see, you've got two ports here, and you've also got two ports here. So much like the Gusher 30, it pumps on both actions, but you have two inlets and two outlets. This pump gives you a really superior flow and is typically used on boats that are quite large, so anything over 30 feet. Again, the handle is removable, and you also have a version which is on deck and through deck. We then move to its smaller brother, which is the Mark V Universal. The Mark V Universal is very much like the Sanitation Mark V. It's got the same head, but a slightly different back. Now, this pump is available on the on-deck version like this, or the through-deck version. And again, it has this access port at the front, which you can open up in case there's any debris, and remove that debris. So these are for the larger boats. We move on to the sort of 30-foot range and smaller. We have the Compact 50 and we have the Smart Bale. The Compact 50 comes in a through hull version only, or through deck version only. It comes with the cover, the white cover on it, and the handle is obviously removable. One of the nice things about this pump is that you can loosen the clamping ring and spin the inlet and outlet round to suit your particular installation. So the Smart Bale is very different from all the rest of these pumps that I've talked about today, and the reason for that is that we want to have a pump that doesn't have a removable handle, so it's not something that can get lost. The handle is built into the front or into the deck cover that the others would have. Lift it up to suck the water in, push it down to pump the water out. So the handle is incorporated into the pump itself, so nothing to get lost. But it does mean that you've got slightly less mechanical advantage, so you can't, you might not be pumping at this for as long as you would one of these, because they'll pump a lot more water. Now this pump is very easy to install. You drill one hole in your deck, you slide it in, push it down and put 2 screws in the bottom, so it's self-locating. And the other nice thing about it is it's got these inlet and outlet ports that rotate. Now this is 1 inch. If you want 1.5 inch, you turn the port to face the other one, give it a wiggle, pull it out. In the box will be a 1.5 inch one, and you just put it in the same way, and now you've got 1.5 inch ports. So very simple and flexible to install. But I must say that before you install or specify any of these pumps, please check out our catalogue, but also our website for the pump selection chart, which will guide you to the right size of pump for your vessel and also for the right application. Thank you very much. And I'm here today to talk about electric bilge pumps. ASG has 2 brands of bilge pumps. The first one is Attwood and the second one is Wheel. We also have 2 types of bilge pumps. We have manually activated bilge pumps, which require an additional switch to be installed, whether on the helm or in the bilge in the form of a float or a sensor. And then we have our automatic bilge pumps, and they automatically turn on and turn off in the presence of water. So I want to try to explain how you choose a bilge pump for your particular application or your needs. So we've talked about manually and automatically activated pumps. We then talk about the Wheel range. So the Wheel range of pumps is a 3000, a 2000, a 1300, a 950 and a 500. And then we have the niche size in our little super subs of 1100 and 650. Now, it's very obvious to see where you would put the super subs. The super subs are very small, they're very low, they're very narrow, and they fit into very tight spaces. So that's pretty clear. But when we're talking about your traditional paint tin sized bilge pumps, how do we choose between them? Well, really we look at Wheel as the premium product when it comes to electric bilge. And whenever we look at the Attwood products, whether they be Tsunami or the HDs, we look at these as the mass market. So these are very much aimed at your high quality boats, especially if you have a boat that's a fishing boat that may have an aerator on board as well. If you already have an aerator on board or a fish box, for example, you probably want to use a Tsunami for that application, because the Tsunami motor cartridge in the bilge pump is transferable into your aerator. So should one of those systems go down, then you can take the pump from the other one and put it into that. That means you've got a backup. So that's one of the reasons why you would pick a Tsunami pump. And just while we're on these, the Tsunami's been around for more than 15 years. So this year to the OEMs, we are releasing the new Tsunami Mark IIs. The Mark IIs are going to be faster to install, they're going to be easier to install, and they're going to have the new technology on the impeller which prevents airlocking, both in the pump and in the pipework. They will be available to the aftermarket in 2022. In terms of the automatic pumps, we have our sensor technology in the yellow Wheel pumps, and the sensors all work by sensing the presence of water, something that has a high dielectric constant, and that means that rainwater, salt water, a human thumb over a sensor will activate those pumps. But a piece of wood or a floating piece of rubbish that's in the bottom of your bilge that goes over the sensor will not activate those pumps. They also have built-in intelligence, which means that they do not react to the wave inside the bilge going over them and over them and over them like a float switch will. And we look at the Attwood range. So in the Attwood range we have the Sahara. Everybody knows the Sahara. It's probably one of the world's best selling automatic bilge pumps. It's super reliable. But we're coming out this year in 2021 with the brand new Sahara Mark II. The brand new Sahara Mark II has a whole host of upgrades. We have threaded outlet ports. Those threaded outlet ports allow you to put on an elbow, like you can see here in the video, or you can put on a straight as well. And one of the things to notice is that this outlet is actually very similar, almost identical to the outlet on the gulpers. That means that you're able to put a 3/4 inch on or a 1 inch pipe onto it, and then in the larger versions, in the 1200, you're able to put on a 1 1/8 inch and a 1 inch. So that means that it's really, really easy, no matter which country you're in or where you're building boats, you can use the same pump. The new Mark II also has the patented XR impeller, which will be in the rest of the range as it's released. That means you get no airlocks in the pump, you get no airlocks in the pipe. It means that if your pipe dips down slightly and goes back up again, that's okay. It also has external mounting feet, something that we have also brought to the Tsunami Mark IIs. So you don't have to disassemble a pump to install it. It means that your installation is much faster, and it means that you've got much more reliability in terms of the non-return valve that's also included and the XR impeller. So that's a little quick overview of all the electric bilge pumps available from ASG. I want to introduce the washdown pump and all of the accessories as well. So first of all, we have here our 3.5 gallon pump. We also have a 4.5 gallon pump. Now the 3.5 gallon pump has an operating pressure of 60 psi and the 4.5 70 psi. So plenty of water flow and plenty of pressure to clean down your boat. Now the pump itself has a pressure switch to make sure it turns on and off at the right time. It comes with the fittings, and it also comes with the filter. There's a number of things that we've done to upgrade this. We have improved the windings on the motor, increased the temperature on the solder, and we also have the best micro switch in the industry to make sure that your pump doesn't burn out and weld the connections closed. So you can buy the pump on its own, either as a replacement or if you're installing a system. You can also buy the pump and it comes with the trigger. Now the trigger itself has a number of interesting design features. The first one is that when your hands get wet, it doesn't slip out of them. So many of the triggers out there, when your hands are wet and you grip it, it falls down or it gets squeezed out. We have got some texture on the trigger itself, and on the handle, it's rubberized grip. Make sure that even when your hand's wet, it doesn't slip. The nozzle is rubberized, so that if you drop it onto your hull or onto your deck, it's not going to chip that gel coat. So it's deck protect. You also can adjust the trigger as well as the spray. If you want to buy a kit that comes with the pump and the trigger as well as the hose, you'll get the little bag for free, and that will mean that you can put your hose and your trigger away when you're finished with it. Now the hose has a number of upgraded features on it as well. So the first thing is that all of the threaded connections are metal, they're all brass. That means that this won't break. It's one of the main things that happens on hoses. The connections break with time. The other thing that we got a lot of feedback on was the hose, and it always kinks as it goes into the connection. Once it kinks, it cracks and it leaks. So what we've done is we've added some strain relief to that hose. That means that whenever the hose is moved, that this strain relief protects it and stops it from kinking. All of the connections are also supplied, so you can connect straight onto your trigger, much like you can at home with your garden hose connections. And that is the standard kit. We also have the elite kit. So nobody else in the industry produces a lovely neat little kit where you can buy your fitting and it's all hidden away. So you can cut a hole in your boat if you want to install a new system, put this in, slide the cover down, and nobody will really notice that it's there. When you want to use it, just open up the cover, plug in your hose, and there's a little switch inside, and turn the switch on. That will turn the pump on and you'll be able to use it. When you're finished, just turn it off, disconnect your hose, put it in your bag and slide the cover down. Very neat, very tidy. You won't bash your toes or knock your knee on a little spigot that's sticking out on the inside of your boat. Now, the other thing to note is that we have a little fuse built into this as well, so it's easily accessible. And we also come with all of the connections to connect your sliding cover to your pump. Thank you very much for listening. And I'm going to talk a little bit about blowers and some accessories available from both Attwood and Wheel. First of all, we have the Attwood blowers. The Attwood blowers are available in two sizes, 3-inch and 4-inch, or 75mm and 100mm. They're very simple little devices. They're just there to remove the air from engine rooms so that there's no combustible vapor in those engine rooms. So they turn on before you would start your engine. Super simple to install, 2 screws, 2 wires, put the pipes on, and they come with cable ties to go around to hold the ventilation pipes on. We also have a selection of grills for the side of your boat to allow that air in and air out of your engine room. So we start talking about the plumbing systems on board. We have the bilge pumps, both manual and electric. We have the grey waste systems, and they then obviously have to evacuate out through the side of the boat. So we have our through-hull fittings, many different versions of through-hull fittings. We have got these ones, which I like. They're probably my favourite, where they're a plastic with a stainless steel cap, so they give you a quality look on the outside, but they're lightweight and they're not heavy like stainless steel. They come in straight and in 90 degree. If you do want a stainless steel one, we also have a full stainless steel range, including scupper valves and exhaust through hulls as well. So you've got stainless steel, you've got plastic, then you've got the basic line, both available from Wheel and Attwood, which are in white plastic. There are some black versions available as well, and they come in straight and 90 degree as well. If you have got some drains on the rear of your boat, once you take your boat out and you drain that water that's gone into it during your use, we have plastic ones, brass ones and stainless steel ones. The stainless steel ones all come with a catch to make sure you don't lose it, and that means that you can drain your boat and not have to be looking for the seal at the end of the day. Then we also have our little drain plugs. Drain plugs are very useful for sinks, for live wells, for fish boxes, for other items on board. This one is an example of our T-handle one. We also have a ring and a clasp version, and they come in different sizes too. So that is some of the accessories available for the water systems. Thank you very much for listening.
Well, thank you, Simon. That was a lot of information to process. It is obvious that you did a lot of presentations in front of a camera, but how was it to present at a live online event?
Thanks very much. It's been a lot of fun making the content and trying to share all the information about Wheel, but you know, we've done quite a few live events, and this has definitely been the best, most enjoyable one.
That's nice to hear, Simon. And I think I also speak on behalf of our viewers when I say it's nice to get acquainted with you and the products of Attwood and Wheel. But back to reality, during your presentation, a lot of questions came in.
And because Attwood and Wheel are recently added to our portfolio, it speaks for itself that you are the expert. But we have asked Eric Swallow to join us to support you in the questions.
And also this time, our in-house moderators have made a selection of all incoming questions. Hello, Eric. I can imagine there are several questions for Simon. Can you share the first one?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So the first one is an interesting one. It seems that there is a specific word on the mind of several of our customers, and it relates to beer. So the hose and plumbing systems, can I use them also on my beer pump or tap?
If it's for your house, yes, of course. Not commercial.
Okay, joking aside. Can you get to the next question? So why does Wheel have two brands in the water systems category?
It's a good question. So it's not that Wheel has two brands, it's that there are two brands, one from Attwood and one from Wheel. So if we think about Attwood is extremely strong in the US, and a lot of their products are very much focused on smaller boats. And Wheel is obviously a very strong brand in Europe, and we're very focused on the larger boats. So boats that maybe have some form of live-in capacity, whether they have toilets, heads, and galleys. So the two brands have quite a differential between the two of them, but I can understand why people would ask that question.
Okay. And also one of the other questions was, well, where are Wheel products made?
So 98% of all Wheel products are manufactured here in Northern Ireland in our factory just outside Bangor. We have our own mould shop, test facilities, the whole engineering and design team. So we have the entire factory based here in Northern Ireland.
Okay, thank you. Next question is, what differentiates Wheel from the competition?
So I think it's probably best to say that Wheel is known for its durability and its quality, also for its very close relationships with its customers, whether they be retailers, distributors, or OEMs. You know, we have a fantastic team of people that are always working with our customers and customer facing. So our products are known for that durability. And like I said in the video, you can go down to almost any marina or any fishing port anywhere in Europe and look onto the boats, and you will see our manual bilge pumps there. And they may not be particularly beautiful because they've been out in the elements for the last 20 years, but our products are really built for that durability in mind and are serviceable, and service kits are available all over the world for them.
Okay. Next one is a tricky one, so I don't know if we have the answer, but do all EMEA distributors now have access to the Wheel and Attwood products?
So all of the Attwood products, yes. All of the Wheel products, no. We have a history of distribution and partners within all the different countries within Europe. So anybody who doesn't currently distribute Wheel and would like to, please talk to your contact at ASG and we'll discuss further where we currently are with distribution.
Okay, clear. Another one is a little bit more product specific. So during your presentation, you talked about the pump. So can you explain what exactly the accumulator tank on the pump does and which advantage does it have?
Okay, so the accumulator tank is found on a freshwater pump, and the freshwater pumps obviously provide fresh water to your galley, to your heads, to your showers, to your transom shower, to various different devices on board. And that pump has to be able to provide water to all of those systems. The challenge comes whenever you have just one tap or one faucet in use. The pump is providing a lot of water and a lot of pressure. And the way that they work is you open a tap, and when you open the tap, the water comes out. So the pump realizes there's a drop in pressure and the pump turns on. Now, if you're only using a little bit of water or you're just using one outlet, the water pressure is like a wave in the system and it bounces from your faucet to your pump. And what we do with the accumulator tank is it's a pre-charged vessel. So inside it there's a membrane in the middle with water on one side and air on the other. And that air is pressurized and that allows the pump to run and turn off much cleaner. So if you don't have an accumulator tank in your boat, you will find that you'll hear like a hammering noise. We call it water hammer in the industry. So you will open your tap and you'll hear da 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 da. And people think that's the pump, just a normal operation, but it's actually the pump turning on and off, on and off, on and off. And the accumulator tank smooths that and prevents that water hammer, that noise. And if that continues, that water hammer, it can also shorten the life of your pump. So that's why we have accumulator tanks on our higher pressure or on our more torque heavy pumps.
Oh, wow. Okay. This one is a little bit more high level. So what are the top 3 best-selling products and why?
Top 3 best-selling products. Probably, I I'll go in terms of quantity. I would say that our best products are our grey waste products. So Wheel is best known for its grey waste products in the industry. Our grey waste tanks and our gulpers. You find them on almost every boat brand in Europe. The next ones would probably be super subs very high, plumbing's very high, and our manual bilge. So I would say that in terms of plumbing, the entire systems, we probably own 60–70% of the plumbing market in Europe. And in terms of the manual bilge, it's probably 65–70% market share. So you could look at quantity or value, but grey waste, plumbing, and manual bilge would be our top 3 categories. And the nice thing about our manual bilge and our grey waste is that there's lots of spares, and these things should be replenished every 3 to 5 years. The spares or the rubber parts. So it's a really good business for our retailers and distributors in terms of spares.
Okay. And how long does an average pump, so for instance grey waste, last?
A grey waste pump, we have grey waste pumps out there 10, 20 years old. It really depends on how much they're used. You know, if somebody has, you know, is a weekend warrior and goes out every single weekend and sleeps on their boat every weekend and uses their bill or their grey waste system, then the pump will need to have a service kit, maybe within 3 years. But those pumps will do many years before they need to be replaced. And that again takes us back to what differentiates Wheel from the competition.
Okay, thanks a lot. Those were the questions.
Thank you very much, Eric.
Well, thank you, Simon. Thank you, Eric, for the enlightening responses. I can imagine that 15 minutes is by far not long enough to answer all the questions. But don't worry, after the session, all questions and answers will be placed on the Masterful portal.
And now it's brain trainer time. And the question was, what is the original company name of Wheel? Some of the incoming answers: Wheel Pumps, Wheel Marine Instruments, Munster Engineering, but only one is correct. Who's the winner, Marianne?
Of course, a lot of you know by now that I have the name of the winner on the card right here. But you have to wait a little bit longer, because first we will go to the break.
Here at Wheel, we design and manufacture market-leading products in the marine, RV, healthcare and industrial markets. At our Bangor headquarters, there is over 100,000 square feet of space and 200 employees, all working towards the same goal of developing market-leading products. Innovation is at the heart of everything we do, as we continue to build our business on 3 key pillars: product leadership, our drive to be the best partner, and our winning culture. These 3 key pillars ensure that we stand out from the crowd and help our customers to enjoy their freedom.
The many correct answers didn't surprise me. Our audience is as smart as expected.
And we love to see your reactions. Wrong or right, interacting with us makes our show a lot more fun. But the correct answer is Munster Sims Engineering Ltd.
And we have a winner. The one who was most specific is Deepak Bengala from Exalto Emirates.
Congratulations, Deepak. And well done. You won a digital Mets Connect Me surprise. Check your inbox and feel a little bit special today. Thank you for participating.
And tomorrow at 11 o'clock, we will start our last day of Mets Connect Me. We will have session number 9, and that will be, Smart Battery Hub from the latest from BEP Marine.
Experience our latest innovations and get smarter. Hup, hup. I don't know if this sounds as funny as it should be, because it's a typical Dutch saying.
Sorry. We can't always be that funny, Diane. But for now, thank you for connecting and interacting. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay tuned with Let's Connect Me.